If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, where the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota
to the hills of Tennessee,
across the plains of Texas, oh, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say, oh, and I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I'm going to stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. God bless this country. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome to the daily All Hat No Kettle News Rodeo, your Monday edition. I'm your host, Hat, and Michael. Yes, happy Monday to you as well, sir. Thank you for being here. All right, good folks. Real quickly, I'm playing hurt. Did not sleep well at all last night, and I had a 6-hour live stream this morning. I got into a crawl that was longer than I have ever thought possible. And battle after battle, death after death, looting. It just went on forever. And thanks to the great help of Ghost 57, I was able to get through it. That and my ever-present wiki. But yeah, I'm exhausted. So we'll see how well I do here. I'll try to go the full 2 hours. So with all that said, let's just go ahead and get right into it. All right, first off, OBS. Oh yeah, that reminds me. I apologize for the late start. OBS gave me one of those stupid your video drivers are out of date, and I won't start until you update them. So I launched my updating software, and it said, no, everything's up to date. You're an idiot for even asking. So I had to play around with OBS, switching this, switching that, switching the other thing, until finally it worked. And again, it worked perfectly this morning, so I did nothing differently except change the scenes and the profiles, which I do every day. So didn't make any sense. But we're here. Okay, so let's start with our first Babylon Bee bookend. This is one on the left from their politics section. I chose this one especially for today. Cuomo condemns America's history of prejudice against Italian grandma-killing sex predators. And here we have a picture of the embattled Love Gov himself. Dateline Albany, New York, amid calls for his resignation, embattled New York Governor Andrew Cuomo defended himself as the victim of America's cruel history of bigotry against Italian people who murder the elderly while also being sex predators. Quote, "I'm being persecuted, and I'm sad to say this is nothing new," said Cuomo in a statement. "America has struggled with this kind of racism for a long time. We Italian guys have a long and proud culture of groping every single woman we encounter and of killing thousands of seniors in nursing homes. It's just a part of our heritage, and too many people in this country are prejudiced against that. I really feel sorry for them. It's sad, really." Close quote. The Italian grandma-killing sex predator community has released a statement of solidarity with the governor. Quote, "We celebrate Governor Cuomo having the courage to live his truth," said the Italian-American grandma-killing sex predator Civil Liberties Union, or IAGKSPCLU. Quoting again, "We understand this is a difficult time for him, and we condemn in the strongest possible terms all forms of racism against his proud and noble ethnic heritage." Close quote. Chris Cuomo of CNN could not be reached for comment. And you know why you can't get a hold of Fredo? Because he's on vacation again. Now, a quick aside here. Fredo said, "I always take my birthday week off, and I'm doing so again this year." Okay, fine. The thing is, though, Fredo took vacation time just a couple weeks ago, right when the sex reports started really breaking. Funny how that happened. But don't worry, Brian Stelter is on the job. Brian Stelter, on yesterday's Reliable Sources, said that it is a conundrum for CNN to figure out how to have the brother of a governor on the news staff and cover the governor properly. And it is a problem without an easy solution. Of course, I'm yelling at the TV, just do your damn job and behave like journalists. And it would be an easy solution. But then again, I realized I was talking to Brian Stelter, who is on CNN, so the word journalist doesn't even register with them. That's just like telling your dog to turn on the microwave. They hear the words, but they don't know what you mean. So going along with that. All right, let's continue, as I always do, with my personal conceit, the market. And you can see today it was a pullback day for the Dow Jones, closing at 35,100 and change, down 0.3%. The S&P 500 was also down a fraction, really a couple decimals. The NASDAQ was up 0.17%, inching ever closer to the 15,000 mark, although falling back every so often. Gold has completely lost its balance. It is now barely over 1,700 an ounce, currently at 1,729 and change, down almost a full 2% over its previous mark. Crude oil is also continuing to slide, now at $66.82 per barrel of West Texas Intermediate sweet crude. That is down over 2.1% from its previous mark. But for the, second week in a row, or at least seventh day in a row, I should say, Bitcoin is leading the pack. Bitcoin is currently sitting at 46,283 and change per coin. That's up a full 5.5% over its previous mark. So, folks, again, Bitcoin's growing, sure. Will it stay that way? Who knows? But if you want to look at the month-long graph for Bitcoin, you can see here pretty much doldrums, anywhere from 33,000 all the way down to 29,700. And then it's been a pretty good climb with a bit of profit taking here and there. And then today, just recently, has seen another explosion with it getting ever and ever closer up to 46,000. So still, of course, well away from its previous high of 64,000, almost 65,000. But it is charging up. But again, as I always say, will it hold? We never know. All right, let's get into the news. So I just loaded all these, but let me update them just for sure. Let's see. The Pentagon is going to have vaccine mandates for all U.S. service members by February 7th. Pardon me, February. By September 17th, I believe, is the cutoff. To be active duty, you have to have a vaccine. And I understand there are some exemptions, but not very many. Let's see. What else have we got here? Oh, this is interesting. Speaking of CNN, CNN helped raise $230,000 for quote-unquote mom facing eviction before issuing major correction. Quote, she is not the mother. CNN reported the woman as a single mom facing eviction before update. Let's see. So, the network recently promoted the story of a, again quoting, mom of 3 young children who was nervous about being evicted amid the federal eviction moratorium. The liberal network even pushed a GoFundMe to help cover the rent, but it turns out she wasn't the mother after all. CNN reporter Nick Watt caught up with Dasha Kelly last week for a story on the recent eviction moratorium lapse. He referred to the 3 children as her little girls, that's a quote, and noted they could all end up on the street, as CNN's on-screen Chiron said, quote, mom braces for eviction. Watt explained that Kelly lost her job because of the pandemic and can no longer afford childcare, and her little girls were shown during CNN's segment. However, it turns out Kelly isn't the mother of the 3 young children used throughout CNN's reporting. And there's an update. Quote, after CNN aired a story about her potentially victim, Dasha Kelly clarified to CNN that she is not the mother of the 3 children featured in the story. CNN has verified she takes care of the children in her home for periods of time. She says she originally described herself to CNN as a mother because she considers herself to be like one to them. That's a correction to their online report. The online version of the on-air interview now begins with a disclaimer, quote, after CNN aired a story about her potential eviction, Dasha Kelly clarified to CNN that she is not the mother of the 3 children featured in the story. Kelly was portrayed as a single mom from the outset, however. CNN told viewers who were quick to donate, Dasha Kelly has started, it could be Daisha for all I know, or Deshay for all I know, has started a GoFundMe page to try and cover that rent, $2,000. It's a Hail Mary. She says she's praying for a miracle, hoping for a miracle. The CNN promoted GoFundMe, which was also shared on CNN social media accounts, ended up raising over $230,000. CNN then brought back Kelly and the 3 small children for an emotional follow-up interview alongside Representative Cori Bush, Democrat, Missouri, after the Biden administration announced a new ban on landlords evicting tenants during the pandemic. And I certainly will not be playing that clip. CNN is now reporting that Kelly is actually the girlfriend of the children's father, and they will return to live with their actual mother before school starts. CNN's online version of the story was initially headlined, quote, more than $170,000 raised in 24 hours for mother and 3 kids facing eviction. It was changed to more than $170,000 raised in 24 hours for Las Vegas woman facing eviction. GoFundMe told CNN it has put the funds on hold and nothing has been withdrawn. Quoting the GoFundMe, my name is Kelly and I have 3 daughters living in Nevada. We were maintaining just fine before this pandemic hit. Now we are suffering. We do have EBT for food and also applied for CHAP. I have no idea what CHAP is. I guess it's some type of handout. However, again quoting, they do not assist immediately. We owe $1,900 for rent alone, not including utilities. I will figure out utilities by pawning a few things. As you all know, it is entirely still too hot to be homeless. My daughters, and she has an apostrophe S there as opposed to S apostrophe, are aged 5, 6, and 8. Please help with anything you can. CNN did not immediately respond to a request for additional comment. So she's even holding out that they're her kids. How unlike a GoFundMe campaign to be a complete and utter farce. All right, let's move on to the Daily Wire. I don't want to talk about the budget plan. It's insane. That's all you need to say about it is it's insane. it brings this country one step closer to um, an absolute socialist society with UBI for everybody, and I refuse to cover it. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Let me log into the Daily Wire here. Hang on a second. All right, there we go. Okay, what else have we got here? Okay, where would we be on a Monday without a Chicago weekend update? Here's from Emily Zanotti with the Daily Wire. 47 people shot in less than 24 hours in Chicago, 7 killed. Including, at least 7 people were killed, including one Chicago police officer who was gunned down in the line of duty Saturday. A second Chicago police officer remains in critical condition from the same incident. This past weekend marks the worst weekend of violence in Chicago so far this year. As the Daily Wire reported earlier on Monday, 29-year-old Ella French, a 3.5-year veteran of the force, died over the weekend after she was shot during a traffic stop. And remember, folks, traffic stops, you don't need a gun for a traffic stop. We've been told that by very, very smart Minnesota politicians, that you don't need a gun on a traffic stop. And that's what gets people killed, is having a gun. So thank God that it wasn't a social worker who walked up to the car. They'd all be dead. But who am I to judge? Anyway, a 3.5-year veteran of the force died over the weekend after she was shot during a traffic stop. French is the first officer to be shot and killed in the line of duty since Lightfoot took office in 2019, and the first female officer to be killed since 1988. The Tribune added, at least 47 people were shot in less than 24 hours. Wait a minute, we just read that. Come on, Daily Wire, get a copy editor. The other incidents included 2 mass shootings, both at separate clubs on the city's south side. Quoting, 7 people were shot and 1 killed in a mass shooting inside a lounge in the 1800 block of West 87th in the Gresham neighborhood around 2:05 a.m. A gunman, 24, shot a 37-year-old man twice in the neck and 3 times in the back after the two had a verbal altercation. In the Gresham neighborhood, 2 nightclub security guards and 3 bystanders were shot when a person who was denied entrance to the club produced a gun and fired shots before fleeing the scene around 12:45 a.m. In her statement on Officer French's death, the mayor blamed guns and, quote, the violence they bring, even though the city's issues with illegal guns existed before the summer of 2020, when the city's issues with increased violence began. Quoting further, today is an official day of mourning for the city, said the mayor on Twitter Sunday. We lost a young officer. I offer my condolences to her mother, brother, family, and friends. Please keep this officer, the officer in the hospital, and CPD in your prayers. According to the Tribune's official tally, 365 people have been killed this year so far, and 2,021 people have been shot. Chicago's unofficial violence tracker suggests more than 465 people have been killed this year, and more than 2,200 have been shot. Well, that's a hell of a difference there, 100 people. Interesting. I wonder how that came about. By the way, have you heard Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or even Mitch McConnell come out and say any words about the slain Chicago police officer? We were treated with stories for literally months about Capitol Hill officer Brian Sicknick supposedly being beaten to death with a fire extinguisher by a rioter. We found out that was not true. He died of a stroke day after the riot. Strokes, I should say. Even when his mother said, right after people started saying he was beaten to death, that no, we think he died of strokes, but the medical examiner won't say anything. That's a direct quote from his mother. We were told, of course, during the opening day of the completely farcical January 6th Democrat-run committee that Officer Sicknick was beaten to death yet again, that he died in the line of duty. So that lie was said in front of Congress. And, of course, no one's going to go to jail for lying to Congress on that regard. because they fit the narrative. But not one of them has said anything about this officer. Funny how the only time a police officer matters to politicians in Washington is when it's a politician who protects them directly. Pardon me, a police officer who protects them directly. Pardon that misstatement. All right, what else have we got here? Twitter is on a tear. Twitter suspends more writers for noting that transgender Olympic weightlifter Laurel Hubbard is biologically male. It's written by Megan Basham, one of the newer writers to the Daily Wire. As the Daily Wire reported last week, the tech giant suspended popular conservative podcaster Allie Beth Stuckey for a post that read, quote, "Hubbard failing at the Olympic event doesn't make his inclusion fair. He's still a man, and men shouldn't compete against women in weightlifting." Twitter promptly notified Stuckey that she had violated its policy against, quote, hateful conduct. Later the same day, responding to news of her suspension, conservative Christian radio host Eric Erickson tweeted, quote, "This is absurd. Laurel Hubbard is a man even if Twitter doesn't like it." Erickson, too, was promptly suspended. Erickson's high-profile lockout inspired gay conservative writer Chad Felix Green to repeat Erickson's comment with the added hashtag Sorry, this plate makes it hard to say words like this. Stop suppressing speech. At present, Twitter has not reacted to Green's post, but it did suspend Esther O'Reilly for taking up the call with Green's exact verbiage, including his hashtag in a post of her own. For this, O'Reilly also found herself locked out of her account, with Twitter telling her in an automated notification, quote, "We have determined that you have violated the Twitter rules, so you'll need to wait some time before using Twitter again. Note, you may need to perform some additional tasks to resume using Twitter." By that, the company meant she would have to delete the tweet, quoting O'Reilly, "I've earned my jailbird badge." The math PhD and academic uses a nom de plume in her political writing for Quillette, The Federalist, and British publication The Spectator. She explained that, like Stuckey, she chose to drop an appeal to revisit the decision because she didn't want to regain access to her account, particularly because she doubted Twitter would give her petition a fair hearing, given that its latest user policy classes, quote, misgendering as hateful conduct. But as soon as she was allowed back on the platform, O'Reilly began sharing screenshots of the tweet that prompted Twitter's 12-hour penalty. On Monday, after his suspension was lifted, Erickson re-emphasized his belief in biological reality in a new post. He said, quote, "I returned to Twitter to reiterate my tweet. Twitter may have decided to ally with Boko Haram, but no one can change their sex, including Laurel Hubbard." Erickson then posted a link to a lengthy Substack essay in which he declared, quote, "I stand by my tweet. Laurel Hubbard remains a man. While there are exceptions, the rule for biological sex is based on chromosomes." Close quote. So that no surprise there, of course. Disappointing that anyone even uses Twitter anymore, but no surprise. Let's see. Still reading here. Reba McIntyre says she was vaccinated and still got COVID, and so did her fiance. Well, God bless you, Reba. I hope you're doing well. Here's the story I wanted to get to today. I saw this earlier. Very much wanted to cover it. You guys, I've been beating this drum early and often, and it really, really started resonating again today. The jobs report came out last week, and Biden jumped up and down because the jobs report showed more jobs created than what the expectations were by about, I think, 40,000. Or was it 400,000? It was an amount over and above what had been expected, and Biden said, "See, my economy is working. I'm pumping up the economy. Look at me. Look how great I am." And I said right then and there, it's not the number of jobs, it's the number of people working. It doesn't matter how many millions of jobs there are out there. If people aren't filling those jobs, the economy isn't going to grow. And those numbers came out. Got this article here from the Daily Wire by Ben Zeisloft. According to data from the Department of Labor, the number of positions available in the U.S. increased to 10.1 million as of the last business day in June, the highest number ever observed by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. In May, there were 9.2 million openings. So 900,000 more jobs over a month without people filling them. An increase of almost 1 million jobs without people in them. So that actually shows that there were less people employed over this last period than there were jobs created. Or fewer, I should say. I hate when people mess that up. Fewer people working than there were jobs created. That number of people working actually decreased, even though the number of jobs increased. So let me quote you this right here. This again from the Department of Labor's press release. Total separations includes quits, layoffs, and discharges, and other separations. Quits are generally voluntary separations initiated by the employee. Therefore, the quits rate can serve as a measure of workers' willingness or ability to leave jobs. Layoffs and discharges are involuntary separations initiated by the employer. Other separations include separations due to retirement, death, disability, and transfers to other locations of the same firm. Here's the important part. Again, this is quoting the Department of Labor. In June, the quits level and rate increased to 3.9 million. That's plus almost 240,000 and 2.7% respectively. Quits increased in professional and business services, 72,000 plus. Durable goods manufacturing plus 47,000, and state and local government, excluding education, plus 33,000. Quits decreased in state and local government education, minus 26,000. The number of quits increased in the South region. So there's another thing. People are leaving rather high-level jobs. I'm not saying that the CEO of Coke just quit, but as you can see here, it said quits increased in professional and business services. So it's not just those low-level jobs that people aren't filling because they're getting paid more to not work by the extra federal unemployment bennies, the extra $300 a week that still isn't going to end until next month. So continuing. As CNBC notes, the Labor Department's Friday report revealed that there are 8.7 million Americans searching for work, meaning that the number of openings vastly exceeds the number of potential workers. Many economists are concerned that $300 per week enhanced federal unemployment insurance, which is not set to expire until early September, is prompting Americans to stay home rather than seek new positions. At the end of June, roughly the same period for which the Department of Labor found the record number of openings, Morning Consult surveyed 463 out-of-work adults, American adults. 1 in 8 respondents said that they have refused job offers while unemployed because they, quote, receive enough money from unemployment without having to work, close quote. As 14.1 million adults were collecting benefits at the time of the survey, Morning Consult concluded that roughly 1.8 million Americans have turned down jobs due to the federal handouts. So, quoting Republican Representative Kevin Brady out of Texas, the ranking member of the House Ways and Means Committee, quote, the labor force participation rate, that key indicator, it's just stuck at a very low rate. It hasn't budged in 6 months under Biden. Without those workers returning, we're going to continue to see those higher prices and those slower deliveries in a major way. And again, higher prices and fewer goods with the proposed insane spending that this government wants to put out. This crap about temporary inflation is just that. It's crap. It's just going to grow and grow and grow. The only thing holding the line right now is that the price of oil has decreased almost $11 per barrel from where it was last month. It was up to 77. Now it's down to 66. If it wasn't for that, we'd be seeing really, really massive inflation. Let me back up a little bit. I missed Michael's previous chat on YouTube. It reads, I still believe there is an element of fabrication to the more egregious claims on Cuomo, and a smokescreen against Dem Governor COVID crime is a motivator in this. Glad to see him on the outs. Yeah, that is an interesting point. I think the thing is, though, the criminal complaint, because the woman who made the criminal complaint outed herself yesterday. So she has come forward, and her name is now in the press. So she's really laid herself open to scrutiny. And I think that while it does not make her entirely credible, lends to her credibility that she feels confident enough in what she's saying to stand out in front of it. So it's again, I'm not saying she's 100%, trustworthy. No one is, but I'm just saying it lends credibility in my eye to her statement. Michael also says in the YouTube chat, what happened to accountability in taking unemployment? Proof of searches being cut off if you don't take a job. Actually, most states, it's not taking a job, it's looking for a job. So if you can go to the unemployment office and say, yeah, I looked for work, and here's here's my calendar with my interview, or here's a copy of the resume I filled out. That's usually all you need to keep getting benefits. And of course, they can't prove that you turned down a job offer unless you tell them who the employer is that offered you the job. But as I remember, unemployment across the U.S., usually it's only, you have to show you're actively looking for work, not that you're turning down, not that you're not turning down jobs. But and of course, there are a number of states who even relaxed that requirement because of COVID, and just said, hey, if you apply for unemployment, you'll get it. That's why there's such a huge, hundreds of billions of dollars in unemployment fraud out there. Remember, my identity was stolen in an attempt to do an unemployment scam here in Wisconsin. Luckily, they're not very good at it. They got my name off the internet, but nothing else. I'm sorry, and my address. They got my name and my address, but they didn't have my proper email address. They didn't have a recent employer, anything like that, which would have been funny because I haven't had a job since 2004. So it would have been kind of hilarious. But and that's one that got caught. Look at California. I think they said perhaps anywhere upwards of half a $500 billion in unemployment scams could have happened in California. Michael says that New York used to cut you off if you declined a job offer. Well, that makes sense, and I would agree with that as being a very sound policy. But like I say, a lot of especially the blue states, just cut out the whole requirements altogether. Just apply and you get it. And many of them didn't even do any due diligence as far as proving you are who you said you are. They took the claim and they paid it out. So of course, what happened is so many legitimate unemployment claims got delayed massively because of the backlog created by the fraudulent claims. And some of the states that tried to dig through the claims and verify them wound up having backups anywhere from 3 to 6 months before benefits were starting to be paid out. Ohio was one of those states. Meanwhile, Oklahoma just paid it out, and wound up getting scammed by, I think, about $200 million in unemployment insurance and most of that from just a handful of people. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to my Epoch Times Premium account. All right, some international news here. The Taliban is rolling. This is an article by Jack Phillips. You can see here a massive amount of damage in the city of Kunduz, which is in northern Afghanistan. That's just from yesterday. It says here, the Taliban terrorist group took a sixth provincial capital in about as many days in northern Afghanistan amid claims that government forces simply retreated without fighting. Samangan's deputy provincial governor, Mohammed Dawood Kalakani, confirmed the takeover of Abyak, the capital, to international news outlets. Now he said the Taliban is in full control, while a Taliban spokesman wrote that all government and police installations in Abyak were, quote, cleared. Abdullah Mohammadi and Ziadwin Zia, two Samagan provincial lawmakers, were quoted on August 9th that Afghan government forces retreated from Abyak without fighting. Afghan government forces attempted to push back the Taliban's advance, claiming that the government killed 500 Taliban fighters on August 9th, according to Al Jazeera. It came as, over the weekend, Taliban forces took over the strategically important provincial capital of Kunduz, where U.S. coalition forces were stationed for decades before their withdrawal this year. Samangan is the fifth northern Afghanistan province to be captured by the Taliban in less than a week. A local journalist said on August 9th that Talakwan, the capital of Takhar province, was also captured by the Taliban. President Joe Biden said in June that the drawdown of all American forces will end on August 31st, although there were unconfirmed reports that American B-52 bombers and gunships struck Taliban targets in Sheberghan, Afghanistan over the weekend. According to U.S. Central Command, U.S. forces have conducted several airstrikes in defense of our Afghan partners in recent days. Here's the thing, though, folks. Unless you have competent and aggressive ground forces, all the air combat in the world won't help you. There's nothing to replace boots on the ground. B-52s are now precision munition systems. They carry scores of GPS-guided bombs, but that's still striking a force, but it can't block an advance. It can merely slow it down, usually. Same with gunships. They can't stay there forever. And the Taliban has shown that they pretty much have unlimited resources. The people have been sneaking across the borders to fight with the Taliban literally for 20 years, and they're not going to stop now. So what you have to ask yourself is, first of all, would this have happened if Biden had stuck with the original agreement with the Taliban and got everybody out before May 1st? We don't know, and we'll never know. We'll never know. Because Biden took that agreement off the table immediately. And he certainly has not done our Afghan allies any great services by withdrawing from Bagram in the middle of the night without notifying even the Afghan commander at the air base of the Afghan forces there that we were leaving. Didn't even leave them the keys to the vehicles, basically. We just let up and left. Now, the one thing I've heard about this so far is that No major cities in Afghan have been taken over yet. These have just been small provincial capitals. But I don't think that's going to hold. I really don't. So let's continue with the article. Muhammad Naeem Wardak, a spokesman for the Taliban's political bureau, you know this Taliban is going to have spokeswomen, said on August 8th there is no ceasefire between the group and government forces, while warning the U.S. not to further intervene. Quote, the Afghani government is the one who chose to start the war in different provinces. The measures that the Taliban took were in response and reaction to the government attacks and actions. Okay, well, does that mean you had to take over the entire province? Another spokesman for the terrorist group, Shuhail Shaheen, told Al Jazeera that it has, quote, the capabilities to capture cities, claiming the Afghan government instead, quote, launched an offensive against us, leading to a military response. The U.S. Embassy in Kabul, meanwhile, has called on all Americans to immediately leave Afghanistan in any way they can, warning that government-sponsored flights out of the country might not be provided in the near future. Quote, the U.S. Embassy urges U.S. citizens to leave Afghanistan immediately using available commercial flight options. Given the security conditions and reduced staffing, the Embassy's ability to assist U.S. citizens in Afghanistan is extremely limited, even within Kabul. Hey, dog. I've got Steely Dan with you in the D-Live chat, and Michael is hanging out on YouTube right now, as he always does before he comes over. But yeah, it's very sparse today. Really low attendance on the game stream today too. But yeah, what are you gonna do? They can't all be gems. But thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Meager Monday is a good way of putting it. I like that. That's a very good way of putting it. Okay, here's some good border news. Article from the Epoch Times by Charlotte Cuthbertson. I love that name, Cuthbertson. That's a woody name. Monty Python reference. See, this is out of Brackettville, Texas. Texas state troopers have started delivering van loads of illegal aliens to the Kinney County Sheriff's Office to be charged with criminal trespass. The parking lot and an old steel picnic table under a tree outside the sheriff's office have become a proxy booking center, as the building is more suited for the crimes of a quiet rural community of 3,600 residents. But last week, the area was bustling as troopers brought in and processed 17 illegals on August 3rd, another 17 on August 6th, and 13 more overnight on August 8th. All were males, and all were magistrated by the Kinney County Justice of the Peace for criminal trespass after being arrested on local ranches. So, as we know, Governor Abbott declared that basically if you're caught in Texas as an illegal crosser, you're going to jail. And you may be there for 6 months, you may be there for a year, but you're going to jail. Continuing. It's somewhat complicated for Kinney County, as it has only 14 jail spaces that are perpetually full. So the aliens get booked and appear before a judge in Kinney County, then taken to a tent facility in neighboring Valverde County. From Valverde, troopers transport them 100 miles away to the Briscoe unit in Dilley, Texas, which has been repurposed to detain almost 1,000 illegals who are awaiting their court cases and serving out their sentences. Kinney County Sheriff Brad Coe said he wants to stick illegals with any charges he can so that it might deter them from coming to his county, but he's had to wait until the state was ready to help provide the infrastructure to do it. Quoting Coe, "We're going to try to hold these people accountable." He says he hopes these convictions might be a roadblock if they ever try to file for some type of assistance or become a U.S. citizen. Not under this administration, it won't. He said, quote, "That'd be a check mark against them. Some type of consequence has to be there." Well, you would think that. You would think that. Quoting Kinney County Attorney Brent Smith, DPS, which is what Texas calls its state troopers, the Department of Public Safety. DPS has been working hard on conducting more ground operations on the ranches in Kinney County, where probably 80% of the illegal trafficking is occurring. They're having some success in their arrest, but are very limited in the manpower they can deploy on the ground. I gotta tell you, let me blow this picture up here. Okay, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Don't take this as gospel. And unfortunately, the way the Epoch Times does its formatting, you can't blow up the page very much because the comment section on the right blows up with it. But that appears to me to be a drum magazine on that AR that the trooper is holding. That is a Texas DPS trooper, and you can tell by the uniform. It says right there in the caption. But that is in fact a pretty well tricked out firearm, and that looks to be a drum magazine, which makes sense because we've seen the video taken inside trafficking vehicles of smugglers with the same kit. So I don't blame them. I don't blame them. Let's see. In July, almost 10,000 illegals evaded Border Patrol in the Del Rio sector, according to preliminary CBP numbers. Many of them passed through Kinney County on their way to larger cities. Let's see. Illegals are walking through ranches, destroying fences and water pipes, leaving water faucets on, and breaking into homes and vehicles. Quoting the county attorney, "We've always had a fence cut here, fence cut there, but because they're hauling dope or small kids or something, but we've never seen the intentional big 4x4 holes in the fence or now a 10-foot section just completely cut out. That's really starting to bother me." The Cubans evading Border Patrol and coming through Kinney County are a new phenomenon. He says he hasn't seen a Cuban influx in the country for at least 35 years. Until recently, the vast majority of Cubans crossing the border illegally have been turning themselves over to Border Patrol at the common crossing pathways into Del Rio and Eagle Pass. State troopers and local jail staff took about 2 hours to complete the paperwork and magistrate 6 Cubans who were arrested after crossing the Rio Grande onto a ranch late on August 7th. The Cubans, all male, expressed surprise at being arrested on criminal charges. They had been told they'd simply be processed by Border Patrol and then cut loose into the U.S. to travel to their destination, 5 to Florida and 1 to Las Vegas. All the 6 had left Cuba at least 2 years ago and had been living in South America before traveling up to the U.S.-Mexico border. Several talked about the difficult trek through the Darien jungle between Colombia and Panama. One man said he saw 9 dead bodies in the 6 days he was walking, some who had been executed and others who had succumbed to the harsh conditions. Him and another man said they both had been robbed at gunpoint in the jungle. During July, more than 205,000 illegal aliens were apprehended along the whole southern border. It's an increase over the previous months this year and a 20-year high. Remember, folks, as I've said before, when you see that phrase 20-year high, that's not descriptive enough. The Border Patrol and DHS have only been keeping records for 20 years. So it is technically a 20-year high, but what it really is a record. And it's been a record month over month for the last 3 or 4 months. Let's see here. Okay, David Chipman is still under fire. McConnell called for him to be withdrawn. Well, we'll see what happens. This administration has not shown any immediacy towards actually doing the right thing, so I doubt that'll happen. Let's see. Oh yeah, this happened yesterday. We want to talk about this. Melissa DeRosa, Cuomo's top aide, stepped down yesterday. She gave out a fairly general statement to a few news outlets that basically, it's been my honor to serve the people of New York. yada, yada, yada. Here's the one part that struck home, to me at least. Quote, personally, the past 2 years have been emotionally and mentally trying. I am forever grateful for the opportunity to have worked with such talented and committed colleagues on behalf of our state. Of course, also, don't forget, DeRosa was not treated kindly in that report. Her name came up a lot. Let me quote you the article here. Investigators said that senior staff, including DeRosa, pressured former employees to secretly record phone conversations with 2 women, one of whom came forward with allegations against Cuomo, quote, potentially in the hopes of obtaining additional information to use against any women who might speak out, close quote. The recordings did not end up being useful. Again, quoting DeRosa, I did not think it went well, she told investigators. She acknowledged directing at least one of the calls because she, quote, thought there was a politically calculated movement afoot, close quote. DeRosa also said she was part of the group of top aides that decided to send confidential files on one of the accusers, Lindsey Boylan, to reporters as part of a response to Boylan's accusations. The report mentioned DeRosa 187 times, including outlining allegations that the aide would shout and yell at Boylan, one of Cuomo's accusers, quote, for illogical things, close quote. DeRosa denied the allegations and has defended Cuomo against the sexual misconduct accusations. But their testimony diverged at times. For instance, Cuomo denied ever referring to senior female staffers as the, quote, mean girls. DeRosa told investigators she did hear Cuomo use the term multiple times. He would use it when he felt DeRosa and other top aides, quote, weren't being inclusive or that they, quote, should be more inclusive. One accuser said Cuomo would occasionally ask her how the mean girls were treating her. And again, this is after Albany County Sheriff Craig Apple confirmed that one of Cuomo's former aides, the woman previously described as Executive Assistant Number 1, filed a criminal complaint against the Democrat. That would be for him fondling her under her shirt. But that person has since come out and identified herself. The assistant has identified herself, oh, here it is, as Brittany Camiso. She told investigators that Cuomo groped her under her blouse and grabbed her behind. What he did to me was a crime, she said on CBS this morning. He broke the law. So, we'll see. We'll see. I doubt anything's going to happen. I mean, we already know that the DOJ has dropped the federal investigation into Cuomo's nursing home deaths. A completely political decision by any means of looking at it whatsoever. But and Michigan got off the hook as well. It still leaves New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and California as states that also sent COVID-positive patients back into nursing homes and have not released comprehensive death numbers. Of course, neither has New York or New Jersey or Michigan. So none of them have. But the DOJ is not going to hold anyone to account for literally killing seniors for no reason whatsoever. So this happened. As you know, there's been a battle in Florida regarding vaccine passports in the cruise industry. The Norwegian cruise line wanted to demand vaccination proof for you to be able to board, and DeSantis had said that there would be no vaccine passports allowed in Florida. And you may be aware about 80% of the U.S. cruise line traffic goes in and out of Florida. The small percentage of it is in the Gulf and on the West Coast. Small percentage of it. There's been a battle in the courts between DeSantis and Norwegian Cruise Lines. And yesterday, a federal judge according to an article here by Isabel van Bruggen, said that Norwegian cruise lines may require passengers to show proof of vaccination before boarding. District Judge Kathleen Williams issued a preliminary ruling saying that the cruise ship line would likely prevail on its argument that the, quote, vaccine passport ban signed into law by DeSantis jeopardizes public health and is an unconstitutional infringement on the cruise line's rights. Williams blocked the governor from enforcing the law against the cruise ship operator, allowing it to move forward with a plan to resume port activity in Miami on August 15th. Violations of the law could have triggered a penalty of $5,000 per passenger, potentially adding up to millions of dollars per cruise. According to the company's executive vice president, we are pleased that Judge Williams saw the facts, the law, and the science as we did, and granted the company's motion for preliminary injunction, allowing us to operate. I'm reading ahead, I apologize. Granted the company's motion for preliminary injunction, allowing us to operate cruises from Florida with 100% vaccinated guests and crew. Okay, well, all well and good, but it's been shown that the Delta variant blows through vaccinations. I heard earlier today that studies are showing that the Delta variant's viral load is upwards of 1,000 times that of the original Alpha strain. So certain masks are entirely ineffective. I read you the headline from that article from the Daily Wire about Reba McEntire and her fiance. Both are vaccinated, both got the disease. Now, we do know that vaccines do reduce significantly the severity of the symptoms, including hospitalizations, but they are not a barrier against the disease itself. All right, I'm going to cut off YouTube here. Remember, YouTube, look at the pinned comment at the top of the page. I am not getting any traffic on YouTube. I am not seeing the worth of continually streaming to it. My plan all along was to have people come from YouTube to DLive or Trovo. The links are there in the pinned comment. Or you can also check out their apps. It's very easy to find me on those platforms. Just search Trovo or DLive AHNC. Pow, there I am. I'll put up the graphic here. You can see the URLs right there. dlive.tv/AHNC_hat and trovo.live, same suffix. Also, morning streams, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. I game stream. I'm currently doing Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. I'm on the way to completing the Nightingale mission. But I still have a few things to do before I will have become the full-fledged master of the Thieves Guild. That's coming. But maybe I can do that tomorrow, maybe not. It looks like it's fairly complicated, so we'll see what happens. But I did do a 6-hour crawl today, and it really wrung me out. But so anyway, so YouTube, if I don't hear from you by the end of the month, I may not be here anymore. I'm not going to delete the channel. Don't get me wrong. I won't delete the channel, but it's just diminishing returns, y'all. Diminishing returns. So think long and hard about it and decide what you want to do. Let me know. Let me know. I could change my mind, but I'm going to need to hear from you. Okay, YouTube. Bye-bye. All right. We are